Hi friends, and welcome back to Gardening Suburbia. My name is Amanda and I'm a homesteader here in Cincinnati, Ohio, Zone 6. Today is a beautiful Sunday here in Cincinnati. It's a little breezy, warm, definitely sunny, and I want to get my first garden tour of 2025 up here on YouTube. So last night, the day before, I spent all day getting all of my plants in the ground so that I could do this full garden tour. I don't usually trim and weed and do all of this for garden tours just because my garden is a real place and I am not constantly picking every single weed out of it. But I wanted to get everything planted, everything trimmed, and just kind of kick off 2025 showing where my garden is so that we can later down the line see how much it has grown. So welcome to my backyard. I live at a rental property where I grow anything in the ground, in pots, fabric planters, green stalks, and so much more. And I really do grow just about anything in my backyard. So let's hop into the garden and check out all the things that I have growing in my garden mid-May. I feel like there's no better spot to start than my green stalks. So in my backyard, I have 3 green stalks, 2 of the leaf version, which is the shallower planting depth, and then 1 single one that is the original, which is the larger pockets. They're deeper, you can plant more varieties in there. This first planter I have dubbed my medicinal herb stock, although this year it has gone a little bit wily, and that is simply because I did not start as many medicinal herbs as I have in the past. But as you can see, the medicinal herbs I have started have gone crazy and are now growing out of the cracks in my concrete. So I've got some motherwort here that I'm just letting do its thing. Got another little plant of motherwort, which you guys can't really see, and a whole bunch of catnip. I love growing catnip simply because I have 2 cats, one of which is watching me do this garden tour from the window, and the catnip has gone crazy. It is like the perfect thing to grow. I don't have to go and buy catnip for my cats to give them like some fun. I can just go out into my garden, harvest it fresh, and bring it inside for them, and they go nuts. So I've got catnip, I've got some flowers in here, like my Zanzibar, which is a really cool orange spiky flower that's new to me this year. I have some marshmallow root that has actually taken pretty good hold in this pocket here. We've got some caraway, some English lavender, some different varieties of marigolds to bring in some of those pollinators. I think that this herb stock, or medicinal herb stock, has become more of an herb stock, as well as just some pretty flowers. We've got some feverfew, some lemon mint, some chamomile, which is always nice to have in the garden for a good cup of sleepy time tea. And then this year I'm super excited because I finally got my Tulsi holy basil to germinate. In years past I had not done the process of cold stratification, which is just basically putting your seed packet either in the fridge, freezer, I use the fridge, for a few weeks and allowing it to stimulate winter, and it made the germination rate go up exponentially. So I have tons of holy basil in the garden this year, so I'm super excited to try out some basil tea using the holy basil. Amongst the holy basil, we also have a ton of wild bergamot that has pretty much taken over this top layer of this garden green stock. It hasn't quite gotten as big as the other bush I have in my garden, but it has flowered previously. And then we have some cosmos, more catnip, some Achillea millefolium, which is the medicinal variety of yarrow, some more English lavender, more caraway for some beautiful rye loaves of bread that are in my future. And then we have horehound, which is down this bottom corner. Horehound is made to be used to make candy. I've never used it to make candy. I just really appreciate how it looks. It's got this really beautiful ruffly leaf, which is really similar to that of like bells of Ireland, at least in the foliage. These look really cool. So this is the first of my 3 rose bushes I have in my garden. This one is my Emily Bronte, which I went ahead and already deadheaded a bunch of the flowers that were on this. But it has this beautiful light pink white flower that is very, very aromatic. It has a beautiful scent, and this thing is full of buds, which I'm super excited about. This is the first year that I've really gotten to see my roses bloom. I have, however, seen a really pesky pest, which is super invasive. Just recently came to the United States within the last 2 to 3 years or so. And that is the spotted lanternfly. I've noticed that I've found it more commonly on my rose bushes. They are a pest that likes to eat the sap out of plants. So it could be why I have so many holes. I've already gone through, and anytime I see one, I'll spend about 5-10 minutes looking through the entire plant's foliage and just hand squishing them. They are leaf hoppers, so they do jump, so you kind of gotta get them fast. But I haven't seen any on this plant today, which gives me hope that maybe I got them all, but I'm gonna keep an eye out for them because there's probably always going to be more. But I wanna make sure I get them while they're in their nymph stage, which I'll pop a picture of what they look like in the corner so you guys can see what they look like in the smaller stage. This little barrel was a Home Depot find a couple years ago. I think it was like $20 to $30. I did drill some holes in the bottom about 1 inch up so that it had drainage. This guy just has my Zimbrune shallots, which the squirrels very happily replanted more sporadically than I had planted them. I just kind of made sure that the onions were up a little bit further so they weren't completely buried. And as well as we have some Zanzibar flowers in here as well. And then this is the Orange City Lights dahlia, which you can kind of see the blooms or the petals. It's not blooming currently, but it does have a lot of little blossoms on it. But I'm going to go ahead and save tubers from this guy this year because it has beautiful dark foliage, a very vibrant orange flower, which is super pretty. My second green stock is one that is filled mostly with strawberries. So this year I actually got to start strawberries from seed, which is the first time I've ever done that. So these ones are the yellow and white Wonder strawberries. Yes. So I'm pretty sure I got these ones from Botanical Interests, and I had so many strawberry starts. So these guys are filling out really nicely. I didn't start them quite as soon as I should have, but I figured since they grew, I might as well just go ahead and throw them in the garden. This variety does not set off runners, which is a little sad. So these guys will only be in production for about 2 to 3 years, I believe is what it is. And since they won't set off runners, I can't like multiply the plants like you would with some other varieties of strawberries. So a good majority of this green stock is strawberries. I may not get strawberries this year, but I will get them next year for sure. I do have some herbs in this as well. So we have some dill at the bottom layer, a couple bundles of chives that have flowered. I really need to get out here, harvest these chive blossoms and plop them in some vinegar to make a good little vinaigrette with those chive blossoms. This year has been a year of experimenting. I feel like I say this every year. I like to experiment a lot when it comes to the garden, just because you can do so many different things, and just because someone says you have to do it this way doesn't mean you have to do it that way. There's always room for experimenting. Everyone's climate is so different. So this year I had so many more dahlia tubers this year, and I started doing cuttings. I'll pop a link to that video up at the top. But this year I took cuttings of my dahlias so that I could go ahead and multiply them as well as for my garden, but for market as well. And since I have so many dahlias, I am going to go ahead and experiment with growing them in smaller planters. So I've never grown dahlias in a green stalk. So I have a couple different varieties that I have in this green stalk right here. These were cuttings, so they don't quite have tubers forming on them yet. After this season, they will have tubers. So I have they might all be large ebb actually. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So this green stalk in particular, I filled with Lark's Ebb. I'll go ahead and pop a picture or video of it up in the corner so you guys can see what it looks like. It's this beautiful pinky orange dahlia flower, and I'm really excited to see how these guys do in the green stalk. As well as dahlia tubers, I have some cosmos and then some determinate varieties of tomatoes. So these were just some fun varieties that I picked up from my favorite greenhouse, Funky's. Greenstock does recommend planting tomatoes in their original planter, which has a good bit more depth to their pockets. I'm gonna go ahead and experiment. I'm gonna make sure that I'm fertilizing these guys on a really good schedule so that they maintain the right amount of nutrients to support these plants. So I have 3 different varieties of determinate tomatoes. Determinates being that they only grow to a set size and produce a set amount of fruit before they're done. That's unlike indeterminates that will go ahead and just continuously producing fruit throughout the season for as long as pests and the weather allow them to. So this is the Heinz 1439 tomato, which I just thought was really, it's like the Heinz tomato, like ketchup. Behind this I have a Tumbling Tom yellow tomato, which this guy looked gorgeous in the pictures that I saw of it. If I have a picture of the little placard from the greenhouse, I'll go ahead and pop that up. But this guy looked really cool in store and I just couldn't out myself, even though I'm not the biggest tomato eating fan. I like to can them and process them and eat them that way, not fresh eating. But maybe this year I will. On this side we have the La Roma, and it's an excellent red meaty fruit with large 5 to 8 ounces and full of flavor. So this is another guy I just had to pick up apparently. And then last but not least on this green stalk, I have a Wicked Oran pepper plant, which was just a really pretty ornamental pepper plant. Not so much for eating, but the peppers just kind of spike out from the top and look really, really cool. And then I have some small leaved gum eucalyptus, which I was just looking for any place to put this guy. I have so much eucalyptus in my garden this year and I'm super excited to see how well it does, especially since I know my house is just going to be full of dried eucalyptus if it does well. All right, so those are our first 2 green stalks. Let's jump down to the bottom of the garden and check out the last green stalk in my garden. All right, friends, if you've been here and you've been to my channel, you've seen this green stalk because we have been doing some heavy lifting work on this green stalk to get it planted out, as if this were my only growing space in the garden. So this is a fun experiment. Again, this is the original green stalk, so you can see it has a deeper pocket. They're more suitable for plants like peppers, tomatoes, potatoes, garlic, and just plants that need more root space. So this is a super fun experiment. The top layer is full of potatoes that are just now starting to send up their foliage. So if I pop this off, you can kind of see some of their greens popping out. For this top layer, I did decide to cohabitate my potatoes and my cucumbers. So I'm not quite sure why I picked cucumbers, but I did. We're gonna see how it works. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I'm gonna go ahead and try it anyway. So I have some bush cucumbers that I planted alongside all of my potatoes. In this, we have some purple potatoes as well as some Yukon Gold potatoes. And the cucumbers are just now starting to pop up. I was having a little slight issue with the slugs eating my little seedlings, so I had to come out a couple mornings and hand pick and flick them off. But we've got some good ones. I did overseed the cucumbers just in case things did happen, and luckily I did, because I think we're gonna have a cucumber in every single pocket. The next layer of this green stalk is herbs. So I have some really fun new herbs that I've never grown. Actually 3 new varieties I've never grown. So this is one that I picked up from a greenhouse. This is the xoxo, green and red shisho. This is a warm season annual aromatic Japanese specialty herb. Perilla is grown for its flower tips, buds, and leaves for fresh garnish and pickling. I actually tried this. The greenhouse that I like to purchase a lot of my unique fun varieties from encourage you to taste the herbs if you've never had them before. So this one in particular has a really nice it's almost like a cumin flavor, which I think is really unique. And being that I've never been able to successfully grow cumin in my garden, I think that this is a really awesome substitute. So again, it is a warm flavored herb. It's beautiful, and I'm super excited to have it. The next one we have is a bronze fennel. This is the rubra, or the bronze fennel. This one again has a really nice flavor. It is shade tolerant, edible, and reseeding perennial. Apparently it can grow 4 to 5 feet tall, which is insane, but it is beautiful. And it doesn't quite have as strong black licorice flavor as most fennels that I've tried do. So I really like this variety in particular. On the back side of this guy, we have some caraway, some more holy basil, and chamomile, which has fluffed out so much since planting, which is awesome. The next layer of this green stalk is all of my tomatoes. I did pick semi-determinate or determinate tomatoes to plant into this green stalk because I wanted to make sure that these guys wouldn't grow too crazy, and that they had enough space to go ahead and be happy. So we have a crimson sprinter, our silvery fir, which is a beautiful foliage for a tomato. We have 2 Napolis, which is a paste tomato, and then we have 2 more of our San Marzano, which is another paste tomato. The second layer from the bottom is all of our pepper plants. So I've got some jalapeno M's, which are a hybrid variety of jalapenos. They've always really produced really well for me. Some Ashe County pimento peppers, which is a beautiful red, like stubby tomato looking pepper, which are sweet. We've got a Serrano, which is probably the spiciest pepper I have in my garden this year. And then on this back end, we have a Pato Pino, which is a smaller jalapeno variety that I picked up from a greenhouse. And then we have 2 shishito peppers, which is a really fun snacking pepper that is also really delicious if you pan sear it with some butter and salt. The bottom layer I planted out with some beautiful different fun varieties of bush beans, which have just started to sprout. I did have a volunteer squash plant in this pocket that I was going to see if it would do anything, and it sadly did not make it. I need to plant in some more bush beans in this pocket. We've got a couple of different varieties of beans in this bottom layer here. Looks like I may need to put some more seeds in that guy too. I did put 3 beans per pocket, and this is what we've got so far. These are all some really fun varieties. So that is the experimental green stock. This lower bed is kind of a mix between some different things. So right now it is filled with some lettuces. We've got some carrots that are starting to really put on some foliage, but it's kind of sporadic. We had some crazy weather starting this spring, so I do need to go through and add some more seed, as well as figure out what I'm going to do with this bed. I did have some volunteers. This bed has always been a volunteer tomatillo bed, so I'm pretty sure that this is what those are. Got a couple of different plants of those. This bed has always been a tomatillo bed, and I think it will always be a tomatillo bed. So I'm going to let those guys continue to grow. I may pick some of the stronger ones to be the main plant. I really only need 2 to 3 tomatillos. Tomatillos do need at least 2. They don't have to be the same variety in order for them to cross-pollinate each other for you to go ahead and get an actual harvest. So we've got some tomatillos, lettuces, carrots, some Spencer Ripple formula of our sweet peas, which have taken quite a beating. But it looks like they may be bouncing back. And then I had some pineapple sage that I went ahead and took a cutting off of from my upper garden, brought it down here after it rooted, and replanted it here. This has a beautiful, like, tropical flavor, as well as it sets these big, beautiful blooms of vibrant, like, red-orange. We have some cabbages that are in here. Don't know how long they're going to stay in here because it is getting quite warm. We have a couple of different sweet potato vines in here, which the squirrels have continuously dug up. So again, who knows what will happen. I found a walking onion from my favorite greenhouse, and basically this guy will just set its flower. This will get so heavy that it'll fall into the ground, replant itself, and then continue to go like that. So this is a first for me. I'm super excited for it to be in my garden. We're gonna see how it does. We have a big, beautiful volunteer comfrey, which I did cut off a whole bunch of this the other day, and then I chopped it up and added it to my compost. This is an awesome plant to have to add nutrients back to your soil. Down here, my oregano vulgare is just going bonkers. I really need to come out and harvest off of this already. That is the medicinal variety. And then on the other side, we have some more Achillea millefolium, which should flower this year. I'm very, very excited about. In this pot, we have some Ajvarski sweet peppers. I planted 2 in a pot because they do like to hold hands. So got those guys. And next to them, we have some, I believe, yellow monsters, which are like an 8-inch long bell pepper. And, you know, I figured I'd need more bell peppers in my life. I, of course, had to pick up my favorite variety of barbecue rosemary. I love this variety of rosemary so much. It is so delicious. I add it to so many of my red meat meals because it brings out the flavors of that umami flavor so well. In these 2 big pots, I went ahead and planted some of my dahlias. So we've got a lark's ebb in this guy, and then I think the creme de cassis yeah, the creme de cassis in this pot. And then I just kind of planted some of my Coleus Rainbow Blend leafy greens in here just to kind of give it a little bit of diversity. This spot in my garden is a work in progress. Last year I added some of these big pavers, well, stones, that I just kind of found in my yard because I think there used to be a path to the backyard more so than there is now. So I went and dug them out of the grass and put them up here so that I had a path to walk along. And then I picked up some of these really fun Irish moss greens. I kind of have to be careful because I do have a giant infestation of poison ivy, which you can see. That guy right there, that's poison ivy. I did go through and yank a whole bunch that was kind of creeping down this way. So hopefully they're all gone, at least in this immediate area. But I'm hoping that this guy, I got the two different colors, will just spread and it'll be like this really beautiful mossy area. I did plant some more of my small-leaved gum eucalyptus over on this side. They're starting to kind of bush a little bit. I'm pretty sure this is just some random garlic. I'm leaving it. And then we have the beautiful potato stalk, which I will go ahead and link up here. This was such a fun experiment, and I'm so excited to see how well it does. I still need to get out here and replant some sunflowers on the top of this. Got some weeds. I had initially planted sunflowers up here, but the squirrels and birds got to them. So I'm going to plant sunflowers there so that we can have giant stalks of sunflowers that just tower over the entire garden. But the potato stalk is doing well. It has so much foliage on it now. This was my second planting of potatoes. That is my third, and my first planting is up on my driveway. So this is some sage. I don't remember what variety it is. It could just be a common variety. But it started flowering this year, which I don't know. I think it does change the flavor of the sage, but it is just so beautiful that I don't think I really mind that it's flowered, because just look how beautiful that is. So that's just in a little fabric pot next to our pepper bed. This is the main pepper bed in my garden. I have a row of snapdragons, which are finally starting to bush out. I think we may get snapdragons this year, whether it's in the fall or midsummer. I don't know. I don't care. These guys were kind of stunted, and when I was talking to my sister, she was saying that hers were a little stunted as well. So maybe it was just the weather. It's been really up and down. But we've got this middle section of snapdragons. There's 3 different varieties in there. We've got the Orange Wonder, the Black Prince, and that third variety is the Madam Butterfly mix, which is from Johnny's, which I'm super excited about because it's like a double ruffled snapdragon, and I absolutely love snapdragons. So we'll see how these guys do. They look like they're bouncing back. I had added a generous helping of worm castings, so I think that kind of helped boost them a little bit. But the main thought was that I would have this beautiful row of snapdragons. The snapdragons get pretty tall, coming up through the center, and then on either side flanking it, I'd have peppers. So again, I don't really have very many hot peppers, the hottest being, I think, my serrano. But this bed is mostly sweet peppers. So we've got Alma paprika, which you can make paprika powder out of, and as well as I think someone had mentioned a really delicious like pickling for the Alma paprika. We have some Hidalgo poblano peppers, which I commonly use them in my chilies. I'll go ahead and sear them in a pan, scrape the skin off of them, and then, or peel the skin off of them, and then cut them up into a chili. But they're really commonly used in Mexican cuisine. So I've got a couple of those guys. Some of these guys are a little smaller. That's okay. They'll keep growing. We've got some emerald giants, some Javarski. This is just, the emerald giants are just emerald, are just green peppers. And then the Javarski are a sweet red pepper. We have some more of the yellow monster bell peppers. We got a couple of those guys. And then the last one is the California Wonder, which is just another bell pepper. So tons of bell peppers, good sweet peppers. This bed is going to give us some good sustenance. And then this is the thing I am really, really, really excited about the most from my garden. All right, I had to run back in and grab a second cup of coffee because my heart and soul needed it. So as I was getting ready to tell you guys, and the sun is doubled in strength, I planted garlic here. The latest I've ever planted garlic. So I have 5 different varieties of garlic planted in my garden this year. I have 1 single variety of soft neck garlic, and then the rest are hard neck. So soft neck has a longer storage time than that of hard neck, but with hard neck you get the added benefit of the scape. So the scape is just basically the component of garlic that flowers. It's a giant stalk that is sent up through the center of your garlic, and it curls, and you're supposed to harvest it before it blossoms so that it doesn't completely disrupt the entirety of the bulb of garlic. Soft neck garlic you can go ahead and braid, and it looks gorgeous. I planted this garlic December 16th, which was the latest I've ever planted garlic. I was experimenting, and I honestly thought I had messed up, and that none of this was going to work out. But as you can see, we have tons of garlic, and I think we're gonna get probably the best garlic harvest I've ever had. The soft neck variety that I planted was Ichilum Red, which I'll put the names on the bottom because I'm probably mispronouncing some of them. I have Carpathian, Leningrad, Bogota. The last one is Romanian Red. So I have a lot of different types of garlic. I got a Rembenkol, which was, I think it's the Leningrad. It's most prized by chefs. So we'll see how these go. I did not do a very solid job of marking which varieties are planted where. The soft neck, I'm going to be able to easily identify which is which because the stalk of it is going to be soft. But the other ones, I'm probably going to have to do a little bit of research and see which is which. I have no idea if this garlic is going to be ready to harvest at the same time as previous years. I would think it would be later simply because I planted it so late. I have not seen any garlic scapes popping up yet. But these guys are doing really well. I have fertilized them twice so far. They need a good heavy nitrogen. So you can pick any fertilizer that is heavy on nitrogen. I'm gonna have them on a feeding schedule of nitrogen until about the time that we start getting garlic scapes. When they start getting the garlic scapes, it's time for them to focus their growth on the bulb itself rather than the greens. The nitrogen is going to help feed the greens. So we need them to focus on the bulbs. But they're looking really good. We have 2 rows of garlic up on this top bed, and then the rest is in this bottom bed here. In this bed, I also have some thyme, which I don't know what variety this is, but it smells phenomenal. And then we have my big wild bergamot bush. This sets off the most beautiful purpley lavender flowers, and the pollinators absolutely love it. We have another dahlia. This one is a mystery dahlia, which I kind of feel like it might be my cafe au lait, which is my big dinner plate white variety. But we'll see what happens. It'll be a fun surprise. I did plant some more silver gum eucalyptus in this pot as well. We have Ashe County pimento in this pot here. This is one of my multiple smart pots, which is just a fabric planter. And then I have some silvery rose straw flower in this pot, some beans, along with another Ashe County pimento. Here we have another Ashe County pimento, which is starting to set little baby peppers, which is super exciting. Some rainbow coleus, a marigold, which is, I think this is the only one of my Kilimanjaro white, which is beautiful and smells so, so good. And then we have some more straw flower planted here, and another cabbage. Some hot and spicy oregano. This is one of my favorite varieties of oregano. It smells so stinking good. Some more cabbages, some dill, hopefully to go along with some cucumbers to make some beautiful pickles that I so desperately need. We have a jalapeno M pepper planted along some, I believe this is some rutabaga. I have no idea what variety it is. It could be my caramel or the brandy. But this one was one that I did not plant there. It reseeded from my friend over here. And then I found this one at the greenhouse. This is called the foxtail rosemary. It just looked so cool. It gets really fluffy and kind of like sprawls instead of just shooting up straight. So I couldn't help myself. So some more rosemary in the garden. And then followed up with another jalapeno M pepper, some just regular Genovese basil, some Tulsi holy basil, feverfew, which is very similar to that of chamomile, but slightly different. And then we have 2 plants of our Zavarsky peppers. So I had some help getting my arch trellis up. This is 2 8-foot long cattle panels zip tied together and then put up with some T-posts. My boyfriend helped me put this up, which was awesome. And then I got to put up my sign that my sister gifted to me on my birthday a few years ago. This guy is going to get planted very soon, probably today, with some melons of some sort. I will have to pick. But I will go ahead and plant a couple different things on either side so that I can go ahead and just take over this entire space and make it really something special. We've gotten to the part of the day where it's so sunny I can't hardly see. But we are moving to the upper portion of my garden. My backyard is a slight hill, so I feel like I have like a lower garden and an upper garden, which makes it feel a whole lot bigger than it really is. I do fit quite a lot back here. So behind us, I'll move you guys down, we have what is the 2 rows of garlic, and then in front of that I planted a ton of onions. This year I went ahead and started a bunch of onions from seed in January, I believe it was. Again, I think I still needed to start them a little bit sooner so they had a little bit more of a head start, but I think that we're gonna get a phenomenal harvest of onions, which is just incredible. So we have a ton of different varieties of onions planted in the garden this season because I really wanted to try some new varieties, try some ones that I haven't had before and see what we liked the best so that we can go ahead and find our favorites that we can plant year after year. So this year we have In this bed right here are Southport white globe onions, which I made sure to plant these guys with enough space so that they could go ahead and bulb up and get big, beautiful onions. So the Southport white globe onions are in one half of the bed, and then the other half, we just have that typical Utah sweet yellow Spanish onion, which we know we like those ones. Intermingled in this bed, we have so depending on where you are, you have a plant in your garden, I'm sure of it, that you planted and it just comes back with vengeance every single year. And it may have gotten to the point that you now think of that plant as a weed. So in my garden, my first season, I planted Johnny Jump Ups. They are a purple, yellow, white variety, and they are everywhere in my garden. This bed in particular, I went through yesterday and I weeded out so many, and it kind of hurts a little bit because they bring up just such a nice little pop of color that I did leave a good number of them in there. They're flowers, the pollinators like them, but I don't know that I need like 300 of them in one bed. So I did have to pull a lot. I had one that was really big and beautiful, but it had gotten to the point where it was starting to look really sickly, so it needed to go. In this bed I also have some, I think it's like Grand Rapids lettuce, and some kale. Those are just kind of planted between the onions. Today I'm going to go through and interplant some of my warmer, hardy carrots between my onions in this next bed. In this upper bed is where the rest of the onions are planted. Well, not the rest, more onions. These guys are a smaller variety of either shallots or my Pompeii onions, which are just a smaller variety. So we've got the Pompeii onions in this guy, and they're putting off a lot of foliage. We've got some red Weathersfield onions, as well as just some asparagus that decided it was growing in this bed as well. On this side, we've got our red long of Tropea onions, with some more, pretty sure the Johnny Jump Ups, and it looks like a volunteer basil. I think that might be the either Thai basil or cinnamon basil. So the onions are looking pretty good. They're starting to bulb up some, which is really nice to see. And then in the corner of this bed, we've got my glorious yarrow. This variety is the Colorado blend, which sets off these beautiful like rainbow blooms of like pinks, purples, and whites. And I absolutely love this thing. This is gonna be its third season of being in this bed, and every year it just gets bigger and more beautiful. And I just love how fluffy it is. This year I had such an abundance of compost, I made sure to pick up some more smart pots. This is a 3-foot diameter smart pot, and it got filled with about 3 wheelbarrow full of my compost. I planted some feverfew, some Tulsi holy basil as my herbs, and then right in the center I've got a white tiramisu tomato, which is an indeterminate. I planted my Bishop's Children dahlia, which is a beautiful, almost black foliage dahlia, and I'm pretty sure the bloom on that is a single petal bloom with this bright, vibrant orange flower that is really gorgeous. And then for the peppers in this bed, I have a shishito pepper and an emerald giant bell pepper. So this is going to be a fun little area in the garden. It's placed next to my very sad North Blue blueberry bush, which if you guys have any tips or tricks on what I need to do with, I feel like he needs pruned a whole bunch. I just don't know how to prune it. Everything I've seen is it's very confusing. So if you have a beautiful blueberry bush and you have a lot of luck and knowledge on how to treat this guy, I've added acidifier to him earlier this season. I did kind of prune him, but definitely needs some help. Last year I got so many blueberries, and this year I don't think it's going to be the same outcome. I have a raspberry in this guy here. This is my heritage raspberry, so I think we're going to have at least some raspberries. And then we have 2 more dahlias. This is my lark's ebb in this guy. Again, we're going to have multiples of everything, and another bishop's children, which I planted yesterday, so he's a little sad. All right, if we move on to the other side of the garden, got a couple pots here that just have some herbs, some purple ruffle basil, some winter savory, another basil, and then this is kind of a mixture of cut flowers and tomatoes, because I was running out of spots to put my tomatoes this year. In here we have a mix of some Napoli tomatoes, some Sheboygan tomatoes. Both of these are a paste tomato. We have some Rudbeckia, this one is the caramel variety, which is super pretty. And then these are all zinnias that I saved seeds from last year. So I have no idea how they're going to turn out, because they could have cross-pollinated with other varieties. We'll just kind of see how those turn out. And then I planted some cosmos in here. This square is the Lisianthus section, which I had started with so many different starts of Lisianthus, and this is what we have right now. They're super slow to grow. We'll see what happens. If we get Lisianthus, great. If we don't, I'm gonna try again next year. So this little half is the Corelli Sugoi III, and this is the Roseanne Black Pearl. Both of these varieties are absolutely stunning, and if they grow, I'm gonna be super excited. Might be a little sad if they don't. This next section is all of my asters, as well as some Russian status. I have asters that are, and the black scabia. The asters are the Valkyrie mix, a yellow aster, and then I believe my apricot aster. We have some alliums that have gone past their prime, but that is okay. This other little section right here is all of my lavender. So I have 2 different kinds of lavender here. I don't really know which one's which. And then we have some English lavender that I started from seed this year. The final in-ground bed here in the back is filled with a mix of tomatoes. We've got some volunteer beans, an onion that I'm just letting go to seed because I want to see what it looks like when it's fully bloomed out. So of the tomatoes, we have 6 different indeterminate tomatoes planted in the ground here. We've got 3 Costoluto Genovese, which is a big beefsteak red tomato. We have 2 of the we've got 1 black creme, which is a dark meat or a dark shouldered purpley red black tomato, beefsteak variety. And then 2 indeterminate mushroom basket tomatoes, which is just a big red, really like folded, fluted tomato. That back one got dug up. Luckily I had a spare because the other one was dead. I planted with eggs this time around, just to see if there was a difference, and we're gonna see how that works. So those are the tomatoes in this section. We've got a lark's ebb here, I think a creme de cassis, nope, 2 lark's ebb, lots of lark's ebb in the garden this year. And then I planted 2 different varieties of beans along my teepee trellis here. This teepee trellis has a lima pole bean and then a sunset runner bean, which both are new to me. I'm excited to see how they do. We've got more chives because the garden just would be nothing without the chives. Some thyme. This is just a garden thyme. Which again, I come out and harvest that guy because he's well on his way. Some more pineapple sage. And then some gobo burdock. This is a medicinal herb used typically for its roots. This is its 2nd year. It flowered last year. 2nd year? 3rd year? 2nd? I think it's its 2nd year. It did flower last year. I'm not going to let it flower this year. I will cut the flowers off, even though the pollinators absolutely loved it. Maybe I'll let it flower for a little bit and then cut the flowers off. I just don't want it to go to seed because I've been finding little baby gobo burdocks everywhere in my garden. As far back in the back of my garden, this whole area was covered. I've just been mowing them down or hand picking them out because I don't need to spread gobo burdock in my neighborhood or in my backyard. It's very invasive and it has spikes that get caught in my dog's fur. I don't really want to share that with my neighbors. So gobo burdock, it's beautiful. I love how big the leaves are. And then this is my perennial asparagus bed, which, you know, it's doing its thing. It needs some love though. And then we do have some astilbe, which I don't know if you guys can see past all of my poison ivy right there. Poison ivy. It's everywhere. I need to come and like yank it out. I just haven't done it yet. But there's an astilbe plant in there somewhere. So we'll see how that guy does. I forgot I had planted him there. We have some empty pots, some chamomile. And then this is the last of the onions. So this last bed is all of my bunching onions. I've got the Tokyo long white bunching onion in this square, and then this back square is the red beard bunching onions. I use the bunching onions in things like fried rice, as well as to top buffalo chicken dip, which is like me and my boyfriend's favorite football season snack. So I got a lot of bunching onions in this section. And then I went ahead and I planted 2 tomatoes over here. I've got, I think they're both the German, yeah. Both are the German Johnson, which is just a big red beefsteak tomato. This back square is going to be a flower section. So we've got 4 different varieties of dahlias here. We've got the creme de cassis, a lark's ebb. I think this is the pina, which was one that my sister had given to me from seed, and I saved tubers from last year. And then our Dahlia Black Beauty. And then in between these we have some ornamental black tipped wheat, which I've never grown before. We're gonna see how it goes. I think it'd be really cool to have the mix of them. And then along this bed we have a couple different pots full of just some different flowers, some chamomile, the rainbow coleus, some straw flowers, and last but not least, this pot here has some small-leaved gum and eucalyptus, some cosmos, and then what you can't see is that I planted some ginger in the front portion of that just to see. I've never grown ginger. This is the first year for ginger. We're gonna see how it does. I like to use it in making Indian food. I just had a bee buzzing by me and then it stopped really suddenly, so I feel like it's on my bandana or in my hair, but it looked like it was a wasp. I don't like wasps. Anyway, so I got this container wheelie thing from my friends. They dropped it off at my house. They were using it as a planter. I'm gonna go ahead and use it as a planter this year. I'm like waiting to get stung. Anyway. In the future, I may use this as like a wash station for washing off my produce when it comes out of the garden. I just think it would be absolutely perfect for that. On the back of this, I have what used to be a part of my dog's crate, his first crate, which was, he grew out of very quickly. I have a Great Pyrenees mix, and so he's a big boy, and the first crate we got him, he he doesn't fit in. So this one, I went ahead and I chopped the insert that made it so that the crate was smaller in half to use as trellises in the garden. So I have some scarlet runner beans on this half of the bed, and on this half I have some I think they're just royal bush beans. I can't remember, but there's beans on the back half of this bed. And then I went ahead and planted nasturtiums along the edges, just so that there was something that would sprawl out. This side we have yellow monster bell and a Hungarian hot yellow wax to make some banana peppers, a marigold, and then an emerald giant because I needed more space for the peppers. So, and the good thing about this thing is it's on wheels, so if this space is not good enough for it, or it's not getting quite enough sun, I can go ahead and wheel it to a space that it does get enough. Last but not least, we have my garden that goes along my driveway. So right now I have a ton of plants, some of which are not happy at all. But these were the ones that I had sold during my plant sale, and obviously not all of them sold. So behind these guys, we've got a really nice long bed. This is a shadier spot in the garden. So right now it just has peonies, St. John's wort, as well as my second year of a mullein plant, which I need to go ahead and plant some more mullein. So I just continuously get some out of the garden. And then along this other portion of it, we have a bunch of asters, some celosia, snapdragons, and some Russian statice. So that is more of a cut flower garden. This wooden bed is filled with carnations. I have two different varieties. I have the La France and then the Gingdionis. Sorry, probably mispronounced that. And then this is my only silver drop eucalyptus, which I'm super excited about. There's just like a random brassica in here. A whole bunch of our sweet peas, which I brought out the stepladder trellis the other day so that those guys could go ahead and climb up on once they start growing. And then a whole bunch of spent flowers from the spring because it's past their prime now. And then this is the last bed with tomatoes. So we've got some hollyhocks to kind of cap off the ends. It's outlined with a whole bunch of the silver, or not silver, but the small leaved gum eucalyptus. The center we have 3 different varieties of marigolds, and then 3 of the Black Prince tomatoes. So I figured this was a good spot for them because they'll get full sun. Those tomatoes will turn a deep purple black because they get all of the sun they need, and they're just filled with anthocyanins that create that deep purpling on that tomato. And then last but not least, we have the first succession of potatoes. I went ahead and I topped up these guys with more soil so that they can go ahead and grow some more beautiful potatoes. These guys are looking really happy, and I'm really excited for all of the potatoes that are coming our way. This is some Erginium blue spike, which is pretty sad, but he was sad, I think, because he had been in the little seed starting tray too long. We have some more herbs and flowers, the black tip wheat, some cosmos, some cilantro, a Italian basil, and holy basil. And then my sad rose. This guy is really sad. This is the young Lycidas. I just think he was a little sad to begin with last year, so he's just kind of slowly bouncing back. And that's okay. I still have tons of trays that I need to figure out what I'm doing with them, but for the most part, the garden has been planted out. I just want to say thank you guys for joining me in my backyard as we just kind of walk through the garden and talk about all the fun varieties of things that I'm growing this season and what I'm excited about, because this whole garden has me excited. I am so ready to see this garden in full bloom come July, August. August is going to be really crazy, always is. But it's fun to get to share this garden space with you guys. Hopefully it gives you a little bit of inspiration. If nothing else, maybe just the joy of seeing some pretty things. So if you guys want to watch any of my other content, I'll go ahead and pop a video up here for you guys to enjoy until my next upload. But until then, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Please give this video a like, maybe subscribe if you find yourself fancying some more of my beautiful garden. And I will see you guys in the next video.